Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We are here to check in. This is a casual day. We both got hats on today. This is a first. We never wear hats. Hat day.
Hair's still there, guys. Hair's still there.
So you got cleaned up though.
I did. It was bad.
Did you do it yourself?
Of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know if they like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't enjoy it, but I did do it. Yes.
I never know how that works.
I bought cheap, always have clippers,
Okay.
which makes the whole process far more difficult than it should be, which makes me not enjoy it.
Well,
So,
yeah, I'm typically in a hat on Thursday, but we both also went t-shirt route. So
Yeah.
I went the DIY merch with Rooted, So just
I went the free shirt that I got at a Cardinals game.
There you go. It's about the same, right? These are only $15, $20 if you're double X. So I'm just kidding. No, we're excited to be here. We got
Yeah.
Here you go.
My bad.
There you go.
My bad, guys.
Nothing. Some things that are consistent in a time of change is our technical difficulties. Things that might we hope to change are our technical difficulties.
Hey, you're welcome on our normalcy to technical difficulties.
Yeah, we are just trying to stay consistent for you.
Yes.
That we would every single time have technical difficulties, just so you know what to expect.
Dusty, why don't you give them it's somebody's birthday today.
It is someone's birthday.
Let's go ahead and say happy birthday to somebody.
Well, Barb. It's Barb's birthday.
Barb who?
Barb Jones, right?
Barb
Jones. Okay.
Some of you know her, spiky hair Barb.
Okay. I didn't know if that's what people call her, so I was just like, okay.
We do have two Barbara Joneses in the congregation.
That's true. So we have the
when I first got the differentiation, they said this is spiky hair Barb.
Okay.
Okay. But it's her birthday today.
It is her birthday, so we have a guest appearance of someone that's going to sing for her. We're going to come on up.
Wow, he actually went for it.
All right, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
No, you sing. You sing how?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Barb Jones, especially Spiky Barb. Happy birthday to you.
There you go. Sorry about that.
No, I'm not sorry about that at all. That was great.
I don't know if that made your birthday or ruined your birthday.
I know what it did.
So, well, very good. Well, Dusty, any highlights this week? Anything exciting to share?
Oh man,
Any epiphanies?
Highlights this week, man. Honestly, this week has been exhausting. I would be lying if I didn't say I was a little bit overwhelmed this week. So yeah, I mean, I'm teaching this Thursday, so it's like added to my normal flow. This is not my normal flow, so it's like, oh no, I gotta add that on, and so it's been a little difficult. Yeah, I was up here at like 6 a.m. yesterday, just trying to make sure I was ready. Had to, two toddlers, you gotta separate a little, just give it a little time.
That's the deal. I will say this: all y'all that are trying to do this stay-at-home work thing with kids under 6, 7, God bless you, because we're fortunate. Our kid, our youngest is 11. Like, I cannot even imagine. It's hard enough with older kids. Those of you are like stiff-arming kids to like get an email out or a Zoom call on through. So yeah, God bless you on that. Keep going. Well, hey, want to do a little go ahead and transition to memes of the week.
Oh, the best part.
Yes, the best
Jeff and
part.
Dusty's favorite memes.
Yeah, Jeff and Dusty's favorite memes. And this week we went a little bit off of our norm as far as strictly quarantine based. Some of these are just a little bit of what we've walked through this last week as Oklahomans. So you'll get it when we get there.
I can't wait.
So no, they're not that good.
Okay.
I don't set the bar that high.
Yeah, you did. I was
Here's the first one connected to us at Oklahoma, since we had our first weather event on Tuesday. My kids are in the tub. I don't know if you were sleeping.
We eventually did. We got them out of bed.
It was supposed to be coming right at our house, but kind of just rotated. But you guys probably seen this one. You know,
There you go.
there are a lot
There
of
it is.
there are a lot of other great local weather guys. All you guys are rock, Daps. But you know, yes.
But there
Travis
is
Myers.
only one.
There is only one Trav. The stash is legit.
I keep saying I saw my first episode of Travis Meyer. I binge watched it, so you know that's on. It's also Travis Meyer's season. So
yeah, and we're I think we're all like very calm and relaxed, listening to his voice walk us through things.
nice and sweet.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite? Here's a question. Do you have a favorite chaser? Because
I like Vaughn Casser.
Yes.
Yeah,
Eric.
he's-
Vaughn is my favorite. Vaughn, if you ever come across this, we would love you as on a guest on the Jeff and Dusty show. So that'd be great.
He's good.
I
He's
just
really
love
good.
the way Travis talks to him. Vaughn. That's it. Go to
No,
the
he's-
next
there-
guy. Go to the
There's
next
a
guy.
lot of like trust and history, and I mean it's
Yeah.
great. It's great.
Cut to the guy. Cut to
We'll go ahead and go back to some Oklahoma weather. I thought this was a good one. Know the difference? Tornado watch, tornado warning. Hey,
good.
watch, everyone. Just continue on. Warning. It's getting serious. It's getting serious.
That's
Things,
really
sirens are going off.
I've every year when tornado season coming up, I always disagree with the watch first warning. Always.
Like, what do you
I
mean?
feel like they're backwards.
You think the watch should be more serious?
You should be watching for tornado. Like, hey, warning, this could happen.
Okay.
Watch, like hey,
actually
watch down the street. Okay, let's in Oklahoma terms,
Yeah.
tornado watch means if there's a tornado watch, the people are outside watching.
Yeah.
Like, actually, when there's a tornado warning and then the sirens are going off, where do most Oklahomans go? Outside.
And maybe that's why they did that. Because, hey, you can watch here, don't watch there.
See, every year I have this debate. So if you disagree, that's okay. As Jeff says, it's America. So you have a right to be wrong.
I'm going to throw a kickback from last week because some of you may have not seen it. We actually had really good interaction. And we'll say this, like, let us know you're there and watching today. Last week, I know we had some good memes coming in.
We did. We had live.
And so, here's one that we showed at the very end. It's a great one. Chuck Norris has been exposed to coronavirus. The virus is now in quarantine for the next 2 weeks. Amen to that.
Amen to that.
No, that was a good one. Here's one that I really feel may really speak to how many of us feel in 2020. 2020 needs to just pull over and let me out. I'll walk. Oh man, goodness. Those of you, and you probably, if you have kids that are wondering, when will we go back to school? Will we go back to school? Here's one for you. First day back in school after lockdown.
Oh my God.
Or 60 years, 80 years from now, whatever.
This is what it feels like.
Yeah, it does.
We're on day 46. I feel like this on day 46.
Here's last but not least. I mean, I would say this: if you get it, you get it on this. But this was great.
Oh my God.
That was. I still.
Do you get it? No. Oh, he does. Okay, it's okay. The person we had sing at the beginning has no idea. So.
Mike Tyson, that's Evander Holyfield, by the way. They boxed in a heavyweight bout. Mike Tyson bit his ear. Bit his ear off. Clean off.
I know that.
Oh my
You just didn't know
god.
who this was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man, I'm sorry. That's I'm laughing far too.
I get it. That's funny.
I'm laughing more at the person that's in the building. Alex, like, I just don't know what this means.
You're like, what's happening here? So no, it's good. Anyway, send those to us. If you, we had mentioned last week, you can shoot my email. We had some that came in late, and we'll try to get those on by the end of the show. No, always love those memes and Jesus. That's how I've been rolling for the last 4 to 5 weeks in quarantine. So Want to say this one, toss it to Dusty a little bit. He's not even ready for this, so he'll be able to flow.
That's my favorite part.
Is speak a little bit. I know last night on Zoom call spoke to summer camp stuff on what's going to be happening with our 6th through 12th graders. And so speak to that, because I know I have a student in there. Obviously, parents are probably like,
yeah,
what's happening? Is anything happening? So speak to that. If you have a 6th or 12th grader, wake up.
Okay, so here's the deal. There's gonna be more information. I actually planned on this for Jeff to randomly throw this at me. In and out of season, right? That's what the word says. So there will be information about what I'm about to say on our Facebook as soon as this thing's over. But we are camp this summer is different. Most of the camps that I know that I work with are no longer meeting. The camp that we plan on going, which was in July, they went digital. But we wanted to make sure that if we were able to meet in person, and we wanted to make sure we didn't just go back to digital. And so I have partnered with another church, and there's multiple churches jumping in on this. So we're going to actually give a stay-at-home camp. When I say stay-at-home, basically mean in Tulsa area, not actually in your home. But that has a new term now that we've been in home. So what's going to happen is on July 27th through the 31st, which is a Monday through a Friday. So it's a 4.5 day camp. It will be held at Evergreen Church there on 111th and Mingo. So it's not too far from us. It's going to be extremely affordable. I think it was going to cost us a lot, like $250 a kid.
With fundraising.
Yeah, that was $250 a kid with fundraising.
Yeah.
This is going to max cost us $100 per kid. That is probably the best deal you'll ever find. It's going to have rec, it's going to have worship, it's going to have, there's going to be 10 sessions of worship and preaching. There's going to be we have missions. Most of you who have attended this church know Autumn, who we have supported as a church with All-Star Missions. All-Star Missions has agreed to join. They're going to create a mission experience to where they're going to be able to, we're able to bring stuff to help fund them. Cool. But then they're going to give us missions simulations to where kids can go in and see what it's like to have that missions opportunity in their own hometown. So they're gonna be there. We have multiple churches joining, like I said. It's gonna be an amazing opportunity. It's called Camp Encounter, and there will be a video and a graphic for you on this after this is over.
Cool. So 6th through 12th grade students, that's coming July 27th
through 31st.
31st, and really, it's been awesome, watching Dusty and his ministry peers connect and really just partner together to create something. It's Bixby, South Tulsa, whoever will be a part of that. And so really cool. Again, we've talked about this. I mean, to see the kingdom win, to see churches unite, like that has been an awesome blessing out of this whole quarantine thing. And so if you've got a student, be on the lookout for that information. For you as a parent, you'll know your kid will be able to come back home, sleep in their own bed, and I'm sure at that point, whatever precautions and measures that the camp and the church needs to take, we'll be taking that as well.
And in case you're wondering, like, well, okay, I want my student to go. If I pay that now, do I lose? So all the money is not going to go through a third party. It's all going to come through our church. If you went to the weekend, it's going to go a lot like that. We'll have an online thing. You'll be able to pay through our online giving portal. You'll be able to do that. And if for some reason we just can't do that, we'll be able to hand that back to you. So there's no precaution that we're not running through somebody else. And also anything that we do on camp, whether that's rec, and we're not paying anybody until we know that we're doing this. So our money is being protected. So if that's something, I'll be able to field any kind of questions you want. You can hit me up on
Facebook. And he'll be rolling out later. I mean, we'll have, if you have multiple students, there'll be some breaks there. If money is an issue, we don't want it to be an issue. So make sure you connect with Dusty and we'll help kind of walk through that with you. I kind of wanted to speak before we transition to the Devo part. I know I've been texted a few times, emailed, so you probably have as well, as saying, Jeff, Dusty, what are we doing as far as church is going? When are we meeting? What's that rollout process look like? When are we reopening? All those things. And for me and Dusty, we swim in this. A lot of our friends are our pastors. So, for the last couple of weeks, since there have been some guidelines and stuff, we've obviously been talking to tons of people on, and I would say this. We said this last week, and I would just reiterate it. Is I think for us as a church and for us as followers of Jesus, is to extend grace and understanding and patience with all people, because we all are reacting to this, responding, processing this much differently. And as leaders, there are many variables to each context that are specific to that context that play into any kind of decisions that are made. And so we know people that are starting back this week. We know people that are waiting until June. They're all in the middle. So here's kind of what we're doing. And we don't have a link or anything, but you can go check. If you Google, I guess kind of a reopening church guidelines kind of thing, in Oklahoma, you'll be able to see some of those while we're processing. There's 3 phases, one starting May 1st, May 15th, the second one, June 1st is the third one. And each one, there's a little bit of loosening restrictions, but I would say through phase 1 and 2, there's still a lot of restrictions that I think are good measures. From every other row of seating needs to be vacant, from volunteer staff wearing masks, no food, no drinks, no child care or kids ministry stuff happening in phase 1. Obviously, the Safer at Home directive is still attached through the entirety of May for those that are 65 and older or find themselves in the vulnerable category. So, as we look at all this and process, those are kind of some of the things that we have to walk through and think through. And here's what we're doing. And we'll be sending out an e-blast later. But I wanted to say thank you for watching here, and we're going to kind of give you the first scoop on this. But we're going to continue to have our online services and our virtual gathering May 3rd, May 10th, and May 17th. On May 24th, we're going to gather, but we're not going to gather in our normal sense per se with our normal service times. As we were discussing this with staff and leadership, is how awesome would it be for us as a church community for the first time that we actually come back per se to do that, to serve the community. And so our first time back, we're going to do a Serve Sunday. We'll meet here and we'll gather together at some level here, but then we'll release out, small groups of under 10. We'll have a lot of different precautions that each ministry group will take as they go out. But we want to be able to serve our neighbors. We want to be able to bless our shut-ins. We want to be able to do anything we can do for our city or for our neighborhoods. So just be on the lookout for that. We're going to need help from you to say, hey, so-and-so within our congregation or my neighbor, could really use some help on lawn work or, trimming trees or, doing flower beds, anything of that nature. We're game for. We're game for everything. So kind of for me, I see this as we get to be this kind of caravan of hope and caravan of joy running around throughout our city. And for me, honestly, and we've talked, this excites me. Yeah, I want to come back to do that. I want to come back and let that be the first way that we worship, and that we demonstrate who Christ is through our service. And so be on the look. That's May 24th is when we'll do that. Just a Serve Sunday. Again, details will be, we know that some of you won't feel comfortable coming, and that's okay. And we know some of you can't or shouldn't because of the directives given. That's okay. We understand that. And so we just want to be a blessing to our community. And somebody asked, well, Jeff, it's Memorial Day weekend. And this is my answer. Every weekend has been Memorial Day weekend, the feeling. So I don't know that Memorial Day weekend is going to matter that much this year. And so the 24th we'll do that. On May 31st, we will come back and worship together. I would say normally, but not so normally, but normally, with 2 services, 9 and 11. And so we're gonna, all the precautions and stuff like that, we'll communicate to you what that looks like. I know it will be like an all family service, young kids included, early childhood included. They will be a part of that Sunday. And so through the month of May, we won't have any activities, Bible studies, small groups, ministries, anything like that on campus. All that will resume or start on June 1st. So, anything that I missed on that?
No, I don't think we have anything we missed. I think we want you to know that we are doing everything we can to make, we want to be back.
Yeah.
As much as probably you do, or maybe more. But we also want to make sure that we're asking good questions, not just to each other, but to our other church partners. I've been talking to youth pastors constantly. What are you guys looking at? What's your leadership looking at? Bringing that back to Jeff. So having good relations with our churches at this point has been really
well, and I would say, honestly, this is, any kind of decision like this is more than what I would do or anyone else would do personally or individually. You have to look at it from the whole, is that we take it very serious, that we are responsible for the context and the environment we create. And we want to make sure that we have time for the process to be right, and to really to err on the side of caution, and that's where we're landing. So we'll be rolling that out. We'll be sending a blast out actually later today. That'll kind of unpack that. So let's go ahead and jump into James chapter 2. It's really been fun. Really just kind of been unpacking some scripture. Sorry, I'm gonna put the honey bun. We'll get back to you, honey bun. So
this is just a taste of
a little teaser
of what's coming. So we've been walking through. We just finished James 1 last week. We're on James 2. We'll start in James 2 verse 1. It says, "Dear brothers and sisters, how can you claim to have faith in your glorious Lord Jesus Christ if you favor some people over others?" So we'll pause there. I feel like James he's a Band-Aid guy. I feel like he just rips it straight up. Like, hey, here's what's coming. And I think if you have a Bible that gives headings, mine says this: it's a warning against prejudice. And I think it's so interesting that he starts it this way. I feel like he doesn't write like Paul. Paul's like, "Hey, it's so great to see you. You're not doing good here. Hey, you're amazing." Like he does this compliment sandwich. James is like, "Hey, guess what? You're not doing very good." And so it's like he just starts off with this idea of if you claim to have faith in your glorious Jesus Christ but favor other people, he questions that. So he goes into verse 2 and he gives an example. Example, suppose someone comes into your meeting dressed in fancy clothes and expensive jewelry, and another comes in who is poor and is dressed in dirty clothes. If you give special attention and a good seat to the rich person, but you say to the poor one, "You can stand over there or sit on the floor," well, doesn't this discriminate and show your judgments are guided by evil motives? I think it's really heavy to read this part. Honestly, I think that it's, as a church, this is something we have to constantly memorize, or not memorize, but be part of, and to say, like, listen, everybody is equal. I think that we have to be very careful, not just as a church, but as people, that we misjudge, we judge a book by its cover. And I'll tell a quick funny story that reminds me of this. Through college, I was trying to pay off my wife's engagement ring. And so I got a job as a busboy in a steak restaurant in a casino. And you want to talk about not knowing, people would come in, they look like they walk in like torn up overalls, no shirt on, it's just the overall. You don't know if they have anything on underneath that, but they're at a fine dining restaurant. You don't know that they just won $100,000 out on the floor. And if you mistreat them, they're not tipping you. And so you never knew it was coming through the door. And it honestly really opened my eyes to being able just to communicate with anybody. No. Not that I had that issue, but it was always just like, man, you never know anybody's story. No. And we can't ever judge that. And so he continues with verse 5, "Listen to me, dear brothers and sisters. Hasn't God chosen the poor in this world to be rich in faith? Aren't they the ones who will inherit the kingdom he promised to those who love him? But you dishonor the poor. Isn't the rich who oppress you and drag you into court, aren't they the ones who slander Jesus Christ? those noble name you bear, whose noble name you bear. And I think that if we pause here, if that sounds familiar, it should. James is quoting the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 5:3. God blesses those who are poor and realizes that they are need for him. Now, that's not just poor in wealth, but also poor in spirit. And so it's like, but it says that the kingdom of heaven is theirs. And I think it's important that James is not attacking people with wealth. He's just attacking, he's rather calling out the conduct of a misjudgment or a place of prejudice. And so I don't know, Jeff, what do you see in this verse 7?
You know, honestly, you're probably gonna. I think I want to rewind to verse 1 because you moved on and I was ready to go. And I was ready to go there because I feel that sets up this whole chapter and the personal favoritism. I mean, I wrote here. You know, we have selective judgment.
Yeah.
You know, there are some things we seem to overlook. Some things we elevate as big issues. You know, I feel it's funny and get on my soapbox here.
Here we go.
I mean, it's funny because the first 2 weeks quarantine, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so nice that everyone has just chilled off the ridiculous banter on social media. Last 10 days, it's like, oh my goodness, we all forgot. We are not in this together anymore, right? And, you know, and I wrote down yesterday, and I feel it's connected to this. Like, as a follower of Jesus, when we begin to spout words like they and those or them, that is not the heart of God. Yeah, we all have equal footing at the cross, and that is a very dangerous posture as a follower of Jesus. Really good. And that really speaks to a favoritism, whether it's ideology, political ideology, socioeconomic ideology, whatever it may be. Like it's dangerous. Like it is not, because when you do that, you begin to dehumanize someone. And really here, it's kind of that, is like you are looking at something, you are attaching a label or a category, and because of that, now you've dehumanized them or tried to direct their life, their heart, their soul without actually knowing. And so I feel, you know, one, let's be careful, and not only in this season, all seasons, like that kind of verbiage. But again, it comes to this attitude of personal favoritism. And I think we have it, and whether it's money or whether it's fame, or we always have that leaning to someone, and we try to put them higher. And then in retrospect, what happens is we end up putting others lower. But anyway, not to go off, but truly I feel this is beautiful, and this strikes all of our hearts wherever we are. You know, who are those they or, you know, them or those in our lives? Because I think we all have kind of that, you know, that backside of our lives and our souls that has corners of that in it, even if it doesn't express itself.
Well, I'll actually just pause there because I think it's so important. Is I think the bigger danger is when we don't even know that we see a they or a them. Yeah. And there's studies in this, and you can Google it. It's called an unconscious bias. Mm-hmm. And I was blessed through a ministry that we actually went through a training on unconscious bias, really asked a lot of hard questions to be able to unfold, kind of tear back a layer of like the onion that is you, and find this like idea that, oh my gosh, like when I do come in contact with these people of this belief or this age group or whatever, you go, oh man, I do have a bias. I didn't know it was there until somebody starts to question you on it, and then makes you answer like, why would you answer it that way? Yeah. And when you stop and ask yourself those questions, you realize maybe you do have a they or a them that you just didn't know about. And I'll say, as our team went through that was really hard to hear, because you're like, oh, I'm not biased towards anybody. Well, let me ask you a few questions. And you're like, oh, maybe I'm not. And so honestly, I think it's really healthy to be able to be asked those questions, because we don't want to also not knowingly give off the impression that you do have a they in them, whether you're verbalizing.
Well, I mean, in chapter 2, it's speaking of a spirit of superiority.
Yeah, no, that's good.
And it's like, he's like, nah, you know, as a follower of Jesus, that should not be in you. Yeah. That's whether it's spiritual arrogance or just arrogance of the flesh or you know, whatever that is, like, no, I mean, you go to Philippians 2, and it talks about the humility of Christ, that he considered others better than himself. You know, he laid down his life for us. I mean, that is the attitude that we are to carry and that he is speaking to in James 2.
Yeah.
So sorry, I
No,
digress,
that's great.
but no.
So to continue in verse 8, it says, yes, indeed, it is good when you obey the royal law that is found in scriptures. Love your neighbor as yourself. But if you favor some people over others, are you committing a sin? You are committing a sin. You are guilty of breaking the law. I think it's interesting here because, again, James goes back to what? The Gospels. He goes back to what Jesus said. Jesus said in Mark 12, 30 through 31, you must love the Lord with all your heart, your mind, and your soul and mind, and let it be your strength. Second is equally as important, love your neighbor as yourself. So he goes back to, he's like, hey, just remember, in case you forgot, this guy that you claim is the Messiah, right? Because he's writing to believers, the name you take.
Yeah.
This is what he said. This is not what I'm saying, right? And I think that James is doing what most good pastors should do, is say, hey, don't be mad at me. This is what you showed up to church to hear about this Bible. It's in there. I have to say what he's saying. And James is doing the exact same thing, referencing back to that sermon. I think the tension that James is speaking to is that tension between the believers and Pharisees. He's basically, that was what he was talking to, those religious teachers in that text come to Jesus.
Well, and who they defined as their neighbor.
Right.
Which was very, there was
Which,
favoritism.
do we do that today? Do we change our definition of neighbor? Right.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's this tension. It's that tension of Jesus was speaking to these religious teachers who had caused some things and were the ones that ended up crucifying. And now James is writing to those believers and saying, like, hey, careful. If you're not doing this, you're going to go back to the same person that Jesus had tension with. Want me to continue?
No,
okay. So continue. 10, verse 10, it says, for the person who keeps all of the laws except one is guilty as a person who has broken all the laws of God. I think that we should probably pause there because I think that's very, very interesting. It says, verse 10, it says, for a person who keeps all of the laws except one is just as guilty as a person who broke all of the laws. I feel like I grew up in a world where I thought, like, this over here is bad, this isn't as bad. Like, and I think that might not be anybody's fault. But I think that we as a humanism, the human in us has separated, like, this is worse than this, and then this is worse than that. But when we see that God, according to text, sees all sins, they're all sins.
And who's in need of a savior?
Yeah.
Well, if you broke one.
Yeah. Well, all of us have sinned, right? Which means, like, if you have a murderer on this side and a liar over here, they are equally as in sin. So I think it's very careful that we don't separate by sins. Then in verse 11, for the same God who said you must not commit adultery, here you go, he's giving the context, also said you must not murder. So if you murder someone but you do not commit adultery, you still have broken the law. I think it's very, very clear. He's spelling that out for them. So
you've sinned against the whole. Yeah.
And I think that's important. Why? Because what you were saying, Jeff, is like he's making sure that they realize that loving your neighbor as yourself, which he said was second, like this is second as equal to, or whatever, how he says it, but he says, like, he's saying love your neighbor as yourself, which means you don't do that, you're basically doing these.
Yeah.
So
if you're loving God, but not loving your neighbor, then you've against the whole.
You're sinning against the entire
No, that's good.
So then in verse 12, so whatever you say or whatever you do, remember that you will be judged by the law that sets you free. There will be no mercy for those who have not shown mercy to others. But if you have been merciful, God will have mercy when he judges you. Again, I think that goes back to what Jesus had said, as in Matthew 6:12. And forgive, he says, if you're going to pray anyway, pray this way, right? Let us forgive our debt. Forgive us our debts as we forgive those who have, debted us or, have persecuted us. So,
well, my version says, for judgment will be merciless to one who has shown no mercy.
That's good. Yeah.
Mercy triumphs over judgment. And again, takes us back to verse 1.
Right.
My brethren, do not hold your faith in our glorious Lord Christ with an attitude of personal favoritism, saying, if I'm merciless with others and I'm judging and labeling and categorizing demonizing, dehumanizing, whatever word. If I am that, then my judgment will be merciless. I mean, it's pretty strong language there. So it's like, be careful how you interact with others. Be careful the words you say to others and how you, if you're attacking others, is, that judgment comes back to us.
And when we see in the Gospels multiple times, it says, like, if you want forgiveness, you must forgive.
Yeah, forgive.
Right? And James is reiterating this to say, like, not just forgiveness now. If you are seeking mercy, you better be the one giving mercy.
Yeah.
So it's very, very interesting. And I think that something I walk away with this is that we have to make sure that Christianity is not a religion or a faith based on merit, a merit system. There are religions and all that kind of stuff that are based on like a ranking system. Like we are all equal and we are all covered by the same blood.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I can do to get Christ more of Christ. And there's nothing I can do less. And
I would say easier said than done. But
100%.
But I know our hope would for us to be a church where everyone's equal. That there is no ranking system. They are superior, they are inferior, and I know that's our hope and prayer. Is like we want to create that kind of community where you can not have to deal with that favoritism, partiality, consistent judgment and that kind of stuff. And so, again, if we just look and try to do our best to look and live like Jesus, it's funny how things would take care of themselves.
But and like with our mission here, to help people find and follow Jesus. It's hard to help people find and follow Jesus if we are not loving our neighbor, if we are not showing any kind of this prejudice or kind of snobbery towards someone. It's hard to help somebody find that because your life might be the only thing that's going to help them figure that out. So anyway, that's verses 1 through 12.
No, that's good. That's good. Let me pray for us out of this, and then we'll get to the very serious business of concluding our Little Debbie tournament. So God, we thank you. And we just ask, Lord, that you would just move in our midst. Help us to really digest and process this text in James chapter 2. I know for myself, Lord, help me to evaluate the areas where there is prejudice, where there is partiality, where there is favoritism, God. And I just pray that you'd remove it, remove the scales from my eyes so that I can see it and address it and repent of it, Lord. And I just pray, God, you give us strength. Help us to do our best to be like Jesus, to just love like Jesus, live like Jesus, God. And I just move within us, Lord. Give us everything we need today and as we go throughout the rest of this week. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, now I want to say this on the Little Debbie. My plan was to have a little Swiss cake roll right there on both, right there. So we could both taste test them. I can already, right now, I'm looking at this honey bun, I can already taste the film that's going to be in the top of my mouth. But, so here's the deal. I will say this, because these honey buns, they were delivered on Dusty's porch.
Yes.
So
thanks, Dad.
Maybe. I don't. He wasn't out. He was definitely not out. He was definitely not buying Little Debbie.
Definitely not buying, but if you did, thank you.
But here's what's crazy. So I went to two places to look for Swiss cake rolls and honey buns. Both locations, they're out. Totally gone. They had other Little Debbie treats. No honey buns, no Swiss cake rolls. Now one could say that we've created that.
Yeah,
that kind of momentum going
because
on.
of our amazingly watched host show, the show that we're hosting here, caused Little Debbie's to just skyrocket.
One could also say that it just shows that honey buns and Swiss cake rolls deserve to be in the finals.
Yes. But then again, with that point, it shows that Swiss cake rolls are in extreme high demand.
Yes. So let's go ahead and take a bite of this little honey bun.
Now I'm going to take a bite of this, and maybe we should sit down to get a little warm up.
Yeah.
No, now let's taste it warmed up.
It's been a while.
Let's get a quick run.
No, sure.
Yeah, get a quick run. So he's gonna warm that up. Let's see if it changes. Actually, I'm gonna laugh a little bit. I wasn't expecting that. I feel like you know what we talked about, James. Like maybe I had a little prejudice against the honey bun.
I haven't had that in a while.
It wasn't that bad.
No. Now let me give you.
Did you have those facts? Oh no, here it comes.
I mean, this is crazy to me. But so hey, don't fact check this, okay? The Honey Bun brand originated in Jamaica. It was created supposedly in New Kingston, Jamaica, in 1982. This is crazy. It says honey buns have been a big part of prison violence because in prison they are used as a currency. Wow.
Oh man.
They are used as a currency. Honey buns.
And that goes up, right? That brings up some level.
The Florida prison system buys 270,000 pounds of honey buns a month. What in the world? What in the world?
Wow.
So sorry.
To bring the violence down, I'm guessing then. Right?
I don't know.
Wow.
Sorry, I had to go to the prison system on honey bun fun facts, but that's not a lot of fun, but it is a fact, maybe. So we've got we have 4 grams of protein in honey buns, which is really great. Sugar is only 13 grams. That's actually a little better than I thought. I'm trying to find the fat. Oh, fat 6 grams.
There you go.
That's not bad.
Do we have the same information for a Swiss cake roll? Because I'm starting to think that
I don't know that we can find it.
We gotta taste this warm. We gotta taste this warm.
Okay.
Now I got specific instructions in this comments that said 15 seconds, and it's like right out of the. How long did you put it on for? You. How long was it on for?
10 seconds.
10 seconds. Okay, that's
Wow.
This is
Wow.
This is everything.
Really unfair advantage to Swiss cake roll.
I know. Maybe we have to wait until next Thursday so we can find some Swiss cake rolls. Now, if you're watching this, maybe this is what we do. We do it. We're gonna keep a honey bun.
Gosh.
We won't make a decision. Will somebody drop off some Swiss cake rolls at the church?
It says someone.
Someone, wink, wink.
Well, if he goes to where I went before, he will not find
What
them
places
there.
did you go so that people don't go?
I went to Walgreens,
Right.
and I went to Dollar General over here in South Dixie.
Well,
Hey, man.
we know Dollar General.
Dusty ain't messing around with that little guy. He's about gone.
Dollar General, we know is holding.
Hey, I don't want to break a little news story here, but this tastes crazy similar to Krispy Kreme's. Hey, does it not?
This just out.
Yeah.
This just out. Breaking news. Krispy Kreme's has literally
Ripped
stolen
off
honey buns. It does. Does it? Would you like a honey bun? No.
Alec, what are your thoughts on the honey bun? Come pop back over.
Pop back in and give us. We have a guest bracketologist on Debbie's.
Honey buns are
talk.
not my favorite. The texture's a little off. Warm, they're pretty good, but Swiss rolls are the kings.
Swiss Army.
Do you?
I'm
Oh, stay there.
Oh,
Do
pardon.
you eat Swiss cake rolls frozen, or do you just do them out of the box?
Room temperature.
Room temperature. Okay.
That's my analysis. Thank you.
Thanks for being with us today.
You're welcome.
Very insightful. No.
That was amazing.
Yeah. Chuck, your what you said was really funny. Where to go? A new Little Debbie slogan. They're not that bad. I mean, hey, obviously the people at Dollar General, they love them.
They do.
Donut sticks were one of the few things that were remaining.
We know why
they
they
got
got
knocked out. Yeah.
Okay, so if we can find, we will make the call to see if anybody can come up with some Swiss cake rolls. We want to make a decision
What
now.
we'll do next week, just because this was so enjoyable. Next week,
And I know that you all enjoyed it.
next week we will be eating this again with the Swiss cake roll.
Okay, next week, we're gonna spend a whole week finding Swiss cake rolls.
And I will deliver. We will have room temp Swiss cake roll and frozen. Yeah.
And then we can now, since we've had a nice warm,
We'll just
Krispy Kreme.
We'll reheat one.
we'll
Just-
reheat
yeah.
one. Yeah.
That was so. Let us know. Let us know what you think, honey bun or Swiss cake roll. Which one, where you would land. We laughingly said, but we will do this when we can serve food again.
Yes.
So when it happens, you will not be totally shell-shocked. Whoever the winner is, we will have ample supply of them the Sunday morning we're able to serve
All right,
food.
you all heard that. That's something you can take to the bank. So I will make sure, because he said it, I will make sure it happens. So that means we do know with regulations, we come back.
We can in May. We know
can't
that
in
much.
May. But
Yeah.
when we do come back, eventually before the summer is over, we know there will be a Sunday that we will make sure that there's a graphic, maybe even a bumper video, just for the highlight of whatever wins.
What
this
is?
graphic.
Can you see your Facebook? I saw Connie said
Connie
something.
says there is no better quarantine snack than Oreo Thin Bites Fudge Dipped Originals.
Wow.
It's a very long name.
It is. It must be good though.
But she said she had to stop buying them or she never fit in the work clothes.
So is that like?
There is a such thing as the quarantine 15. You know what I mean? So
Or
you
20.
gotta be careful.
Yeah, I extra loose is how I'm wearing them nowadays. Extra loose. Yeah. So no, this is great. Any partying announcements or anything?
You know, I mean, I would just say if you have a middle school or high school student, please just keep an eye out. You'll see some graphics, you'll see some information, you'll see a bumper video stuff coming out. That will just be, we'll just constantly be rolling that update.
And kids, we had sent an email out to all the parents for 1st through 6th grade. If you didn't get that or you want more information, we're transitioning our Kids Crossing on Sunday at 3 from Facebook to Zoom. And so if you'd like more information on that, you can email myself or Dusty. We'll get you that Zoom link.
Yeah.
And so it should be good. Should be fun. A little bit easier on the interactive side of things. So.
Yeah, and then what I'll do is make sure on Sunday at around that noon mark, I'll try to make a post on our Facebook page just to say like, hey, please message this. Like because you can message that page and we can send you the individual link.
Gotcha.
Again, the reason why we do that, yes, it would be easy if I just post the link on there. But for protection of students, I do that with our parents, which Sundays are by the way, Sunday check-in. Sunday check-ins, parents show up. We're gonna be that'd be a great place to ask all the questions you want about camp.
And yeah.
So anyway, yeah, and I would love to hear your feedback about student ministries on all ends.
And so you guys know, Sunday services online 9/11, and that link you can find on our Facebook page, also on our webpage at thecrossingofbcc.com. Also, we have 1 o'clock Facebook premiere with the service as well. And so if you missed some of the announcement of what we're going to be doing in May, you can go back and watch some of it at the beginning. Also, we'll be sending out an e-blast to everyone if you're on our e-blast list. So.
And again, you can if you're a YouTuber, okay, you like YouTube. There's a thing called YouTube. You can actually go there and type in the Crossing at BCC, and you can literally find all of these check-ins they are on there. All of our sermons are on there. All the road sermons, and then all of.
And if you have a problem on Sunday morning, and you're
Yeah.
like, I'm about to need to ask for forgiveness for things I'm about to do or say, you can always go to YouTube and do that very thing. I know for many of you that for like whether you're Roku, whatever you have going on, you get on the YouTube and just search it, and it's like bam, bam. The YouTube. Yeah. So hey, that's all from us for this week. Thank you for joining us. We want to thank Alec for being our special guest. Yeah, did a great job of analysis on the honey bun. Maybe he can come back next week and do a little bit on the Swiss cake roll.
He's like, I'm there for that.
He only hopes he can. Yeah, exactly. So that's all we got for now. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you all.
See ya.